Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint podcast number 251, recorded live on June 29th, 2015. I am your host, a very tan and very well-rested Todd Klindt. All of this around me, the merchandise, the flags, and all this kind of stuff, all brought to my illustrious employer, Rackspace. You can find out about all the cool things we do for SharePoint at sharepoint.rackspace.com. And while you're there, just go to rackspace.com and just poke around. There's all kinds of great stuff. We do SharePoint. We do this little thing. You've heard of it for the email exchange. Maybe you've heard of that. We do Exchange. We do the product formerly known as Link, now known as Skype for Business. We do Azure. We do Office 365. If Satya Nadella makes money off of it, we probably sell it. We do SQL. We do Windows hosting. We do the whole thing. So while SharePoint is the best and and my favorite, you can go out to www.rackspace.com and find out about all the stuff that we do while we're out there. And while I'm pimping links, don't forget about my own links. You can go to my blog at toddklindt.com and then /blog for my blog, /netcast for the podcast. I really need to change that URL. You can go to at Todd Klindt on Twitter. I've got my own channel on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Todd Klindt Netcast, where all of these podcasts show up, all of them since for the last 3 years, and links, and it's got the little time thing so you can skip around. It's great stuff. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, make me famous, and all that. Lori mentioned the chat room. I'd have to do a redirect. I probably would when I change it to podcast. Plus, that page needs to be fixed. It's missing some stuff. Had a great suggestion in Twitter today. Somebody, I'll pull him out. I'll make him famous. Don't go anywhere. Tim Odell, you can follow him on Twitter at Tim Odell. He was asking for a list of all of the podcasts that I've had. He was looking for a particular one, couldn't find it. He's like, I just need a list of all your podcasts. Since I blog every one of my podcasts, I just gave him that link to that. And he's like, that's great. You should have this on your podcast page. And I'm like, Tim, you're right. I should have this on my podcast page. So, and Lori, who is my executive producer and also my web mistress, I guess, apparently she's going to make that happen. So all those kind of things, but that just goes to show you that I am one with the people. I'm not up here on an ivory tower. I'm just a commoner like yourself. And so if you have an idea for something I should do better, hit me up on Twitter at Todd Klindt, email me todd.klindt@rackspace.com, whatever. And if your idea is not dumb, like Tim's was not dumb, I'll probably do it. So appreciate that. But hit all those things. However you want to consume this mess, you can get it on iTunes, whatever. All right. So now we'll go on to production notes. Last week, I did not do a podcast. Last week at this time, 7 days ago, 168 hours ago, I was in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And at this exact minute, I was at a restaurant. I'm trying to think where we ate on Monday. It was Saturday. So I think we were at the French restaurant, maybe. I don't remember, but had a blast there at the Sandals, the Royal Caribbean, not the Sandals Montego Bay because there's a bunch of Sandals there, but had a blast. My wife and I, it was great. I was pretty good when it came to staying away from tech on my phone. I actually went in and told my phone to not sync my work email at all and only had to do my home email like once an hour, once every couple hours, something like that. But had a good time down there, just kind of laid back, got some sun, read a couple of books, read a couple of fiction books, just kind of screwed around for a week. It was awesome. Took a guitar down there with me, just sat on the deck or sat on the couch and played guitar. And had a good time. Delta tried really hard not to let me have my guitar when I came back home. Somehow they lost it in Atlanta. So we came from Montego Bay to Atlanta. You get all your bags, you have to go through customs, then you give them back you check them back in. That all happened. But somehow between that and pulling my bag to the plane, the guitar bag, they didn't make it over to the flight from Des Moines. So I got my clothes, got all that, got all my dirty socks and all that, but didn't get my guitar until the next night. So but it was all good. So I had a great time, had a great vacation. Shane was busy last week, so he couldn't fill in. You probably all dodged a bullet there, to be honest with you. But I'm back in the saddle right now. And speaking of being back in the saddle, next week I'm going to have a special guest, Kirk Evans, friend of mine from Microsoft. He's going to come in here. Kirk has been doing the SharePoint thing for a while, and I think he and I are going to talk identity next week. So if you've got questions about identity, like Azure AD, things like that, we're going to be talking about that stuff next week. So Kirk Evans. Still going to be at the 8:30 time slot. Probably going to keep that for a month or so because of SP TechCon. So, because I think I'm going to be traveling that Monday at 3, whatever. Also, I went for a run over lunch and didn't put gel in my hair after I showered this afternoon. So my hair's all fuzzy. And those of you that have the MP3 version, you're better off without it. So I'm just trying to fix my hair. It's a pretty nasty. Another production thing. So, but got 250 out before I left. Didn't do one last week, but we're going to be on for the next few weeks. So thanks for sticking around. Okay, I got to figure the slideshow out. Okay, so on to topics. Man, it's been 2 weeks since I talked to you guys, and so very much has happened in that 2 weeks. So I know that I'm not going to get it all, but I'm going to try to try to get what I can. So the very first thing that I want to talk about. This was kind of a deal here a month or so ago on a previous podcast. I feel like I'm doing a TV show previously on Todd Klindt's SharePoint podcast. Let's see where it's at. The one where everybody yelled at me because I didn't like the Windows Phone preview. Yep. So that was 247. So podcast 247, I talked about the Windows Phone 10 preview. And how there's a few things about it I didn't like. And I like Windows Phone. I mean, I'm one of like 7 people in the country that have a Windows Phone. I mean, I like Windows Phone. But the Windows Phone 10 preview had some things I had never, that I didn't really like. And so I talked about him. It's a preview. It's, gave him some feedback. The internet went wild. The article that CMS Wire posts about this, the transcript, I got a bunch of terrible comments from that. I've never been so hated on the internet in my life, as far as I know. If you guys have been hating me on the internet for all these years, you've done a tremendous job keeping it from me. But that one is, and I don't hate Windows Phone. I just didn't like little pieces of it. So, I was very happy to learn last week that if you've got everything up to updated on Windows Phone now, so you've got Windows Phone 10, so you've done the Windows Insider deal, you've done, update, whatever, got the latest build of Windows Phone 10, and you've got all of your beta store applications updated, everything's current, you can now pin individual inboxes on Windows Phone 10. That was kind of the big thing that I didn't like before. There's a few other things, but that was the big one that stopped me. And that was the one that the reason that I rolled back to 8.1 was because of the inbox thing. I've got like 5 or 6 email accounts on my phone, and I've got different things set up, and not being able to do that kind of stunk. So I've got that on here now. So it's pretty simple. You can, and I'm got the chat room going here. So this is a Lumia 635. I've got Windows 10 running on it because Windows 10 is a preview, of course. I wouldn't want to run it on my daily driver lest those folks on the internet get mad and yell at me. So my regular Windows phone's running 8.1, but this 635 is running 10. So you can see this is what 10 looks like. You can also see today is my mom's birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. I won't say how old she is. Women hate that, but today's my mom's birthday. So let's do that. And I'm not going to show you all of my inboxes and all that. But if you look here on the screen at the bottom, go ahead and focus their little webcam. You can see now I have individual inboxes for Gmail, my 2 Gmail accounts, one for my home email, I forget. But they have individual inboxes, and I've actually got one. That's not what I meant to do. This whole doing it backwards in a camera is really tough. And then I've got another one up top there. So you can now pin individual inboxes, and it's pretty simple to do. And it's kind of the way we all assumed it would be when it finally showed up. If you go into Outlook and you go into your accounts, let me see, there's nothing there. Yep. So you hit the little hamburger, you go into your accounts, and then for the ones that you want to pin to the start thing, you just tap and hold. Right now, and I don't know if this is a bug or whatever, but when you tap and hold, it doesn't give you any kind of indication that you're tapping and holding. But when you let up, then the context menu pops up. But when you do that, then you've got account settings and, well, unpinned from start because I've got it pinned now. So that is good. You can now pin those. And I just want to be sure that the story gets told correctly. I take full credit for this being in there. That said, this was not in there. I yelled, I got a bunch of attention on the internet. Now it is in there. I think we all know how that happened. The other thing I want to bring you all your attention to is my beautiful blue and yellow USB cord that I'm charging this with. So, but that was a good one. So make sure that you get all that updated. Now it's not finished yet. Number one, the tiles are not live like they are in Windows 8.1. And so I'm looking forward to that. I do like the live tile, so that shows you how many emails you have shown up since you checked it last. The other thing you can't do that you can do in 8.1 is you can't join inboxes. So on my my regular daily driver here, let me see if I can show it easily without showing anything that I shouldn't show. Yeah, it's all good. So if you look here on the top right corner, you will see linked inbox. So that's multiple email inboxes that are in there. So I've kind of got some of my podcasting email account and stuff like that are in there because they don't get a lot of email themselves, but you can't do that yet on 10.1. So, and I'm getting a bunch of text messages because my phone's just blowing up. I don't know that you guys appreciate me taking time away from all these texts that I'm getting. So that's good. So with the Windows 10 mobile is coming along. It's good stuff. So another thing, so let me get that phone back. So another great thing that came in one of the recent Windows 10 updates. And this is something that frustrates me all the time. So I've got Windows Phone 8.1. And when and I want to show all that. Let's hide that. Okay. So in the action bar there at the top, you've got buttons for Bluetooth and buttons for Wi-Fi. So in 8.1, if you tap the Bluetooth tile, what does it do? It toggles Bluetooth on and off. All right, that makes sense. Sometimes you want to do that. If you tap Wi-Fi, what does it do? It takes you to the Wi-Fi settings. And then if you want to shut Wi-Fi off, then you have to shut it off from there. So the inconsistency of those two always bothered me, because it's the same kind of thing. They're both wireless things, and you tap one and it's a toggle for on and off. You tap the other one, it takes you to the settings where you have to screw around and do the on off thing. Now I get why that is, because I fiddle with my Wi-Fi settings more frequently than I fiddle with my Bluetooth settings, because every time I show up to a new place, I'm add myself to their Wi-Fi or whatever, but I could never remember which one is which. So if I was trying to go to my Bluetooth settings, I'd be like, is this the one that I tap, or is this the one where I got to go to settings and then Bluetooth? I could never remember. So in Windows Phone 10 now, with the latest build, they have fixed that, sort of. So now with Windows Phone 10, we got the same tiles up there in the Action Center, and I'm just going to show off the expanded Action Center right there. So now in Windows Phone 10, if you tap Bluetooth, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do this backwards. If you tap Bluetooth, Bluetooth shuts off. Good, good, good. And if you tap Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi shuts off. Excellent. They're the same, right? That's great. Now I don't have to remember which one's which because they act exactly the same. But then there's a downside. I go into my Wi-Fi settings a lot, and I used to, after like 6 or 7 taps, when I figured it out, I would tap that Wi-Fi thing, and that's how I would join new access points. So now what do? Well, they've added a genius thing now. You tap and hold. So I've turned Wi-Fi back on, but now if I tap and hold, then it takes me to my settings. And not to be outdone, they did the same thing with Bluetooth. So if you bring this here, if you tap and hold Bluetooth, it also takes you to your settings. So this is great stuff, and this is how it should have been. I'm glad they finally buttoned that all up, because I'm always connecting to Bluetooth speakers and my band and all that kind of stuff, my car. So I'm glad that they got that experience consistent. I understand why it wasn't consistent before, because you don't fiddle with the Bluetooth as much as you do the Wi-Fi, but I could never remember which one is which. So that's good. So those little things, I'm getting closer to putting Windows Phone 10 on my 830. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Folks on the internet, watch out. Okay, so that's a couple of cool things. Now, one of the other cool things that happened while I was gone, let me get my notes right. This is something, and I see Jason Himmelstein's in the chat room. This is something that Jason and I have played with a lot lately. Azure AD Connect is now generally available. It's hit GA, or used to be RTM or whatever, but it's out. You can have it. You can download it. So Azure AD Connect is some great software, and I could probably do a whole podcast on that, and I think I actually will, as a matter of fact. I need to talk to Jason a little bit, and he and I, because Jason and I have been working on some other stuff. I know he's going to blog some stuff, and I'm going to blog some stuff, so we need to coordinate notes and all that. So what Azure AD Connect is it's a piece of software that Microsoft gives away for free. It allows you to set up a connection between your on-prem domain and Azure Active Directory. And there are about 15 different ways to do this. There's a sync only and ADFS and writing passwords back and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. The awesome deal about Azure AD Connect is it does them all. It's a wizard-driven deal. So you download it. It's a pretty small little download. You install it. You run it on a standalone server. You can run it on a domain controller, but I don't recommend it. But then you figure out what your hybrid scenario is going to be, your on-prem and your Azure AD scenario, and then you could just kind of walk through this thing, and it sets everything up. So it's pretty great. When Laura Rogers and I did our presentation at Ignite a couple of months ago, we used a beta version of Azure AD Connect to set all that up for OneDrive for Business. And it couldn't have been simpler. The marketing folks like to say that it's 4 clicks. And that's a little generous. It's a few more than 4, but it's not bad. Even a caveman could do it. It's not bad. So you can go from the super easy stuff, which is just a dir sync, which is just your on-prem AD splatting things out, to Azure AD, pushing out users with a bunch of attributes and syncing up passwords, things like that. Or as simple or as complicated as, I've got these ADFS servers over here, and I want to set up an ADFS connection, and let's swap some certificates, and let's do all that kind of stuff. It does all those things, and it will upgrade DirSync. DirSync was the old tool that did the write out thing. It will upgrade that. It's got some functionality for having hot spares. You can set those up. It is just it's cool stuff. So I've recently, when I was at Ignite, I had my come to Jesus moment about hybrid SharePoint. It finally it clicked for me. I saw the things that were coming out, and obviously I'd done the talk about OneDrive for Business. So I'd played with it some, and I'd played with it some before that. But at Ignite, it really just clicked. There was just a moment at Ignite when I went, I got it. I understand now. I see the vision. And Azure Active Directory is the glue that holds all that together. And Azure AD Connect is the easiest way to get your identities that are on-prem now, get them out into Azure AD so you can use them with Office 365. You can use them with the hosted Skype for Business. You can use them with Azure. You can use them with all that stuff. So I think there's a lot of fertile ground there. And us IT pros, as SharePoint admins, as SharePoint IT pros, we've had a rough couple of years. We just didn't know for sure where we were going to go or what we were going to do or what our future looked like. And I thought I was going to have to get a real job. I thought I was going to end up with calluses on my hands. I was going to have to actually work for a living. It terrified me. I just don't think these hands would deal well with calluses. But I think this identity thing and getting these pieces set up and getting this Azure story going, I think that's what our future looks like. I think that's where we're going. So this is something I've really been playing with this a lot lately. And so you're going to be hearing more about Azure AD and hybrid scenarios and all that kind of stuff. And in the chat room, Joanne Klein saying that maybe I should bring that Jason guy onto the podcast some night. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I act like I like the guy, but that's just kind of in public. We'll see. But Jason and I are working together a bunch at Rackspace now with some product stuff. So yeah, we should bring him in and have him talk about Office 365 and what's going on. But I've been waiting for this this Azure AD Connect to go GA for a few weeks now, and I just keep waiting, and then I go on vacation, like my third day of vacation. And somebody on Twitter, I can't remember who it is, I don't know if I still have it in my tweet stream, they'd heard me talk about it, and they're like, hey, I don't know if you saw this or not, but it's oh geez, yeah, there we go. Josh Blaylock. So Josh Blaylock, he is at MSUC Guy on Twitter. So he's one of the guys that's following me. He's heard me talk about this, and he had to let me know that this was out. So I appreciate that. But again, you're gonna be hearing more about this Azure AD thing before this is all said and done. And so I guess this kind of dovetails in my next topic a little bit, but one of the cool things that's coming out with Azure AD is both Windows 10 client boxes, so the Windows 10 desktops and all that kind of stuff, and Windows 2016 Server. Both will support domain joining Azure Active Directory. That's pretty crazy. So myself, and I'm sure I speak for many of you that are listening to this, I actually have a domain at home. I have a Windows domain at home. On the other side of that wall, I have a shelf with a bunch of computers on it. I have 2 domain controllers over there, 1 physical, 1 virtual. I have a domain at home. There's like 3 users, but all of my machines at home are on that domain, and that's how I manage everything, and I push stuff out with it, and how I keep my my identities and all of that in sync. And I've had that domain for 15 years, something like that. But, and it's funny this comes up, while we were gone last week, the power flickered here at the house, apparently. And I came back and like all the clocks were wrong, things like that. My hardware domain controller somehow apparently was not on the UPS. It did not gracefully shut down because it wasn't on the UPS, nor did it come back up. And it's that whole thing, things are spinning and working and until they lose power. So it died. It's just dead. It comes up, it boots a little bit, and it freaks out, and it blue screens, and it shuts down. It's done for. It's gone. And it was a domain controller, and it was also one of my DNS servers. And that has caused a bunch of devices inside of my house to just get really upset. I still have one desktop machine now, a Windows 7 box, that will not talk to the domain. The trust relationship to the domain is broken. It is angry. That was apparently its favorite domain controller, and it just flat out refuses to speak to another one. And things are just pissed here at the house. And I remember as I was fighting this machine, I'm thinking, I cannot wait till I can just domain join all of these to Azure AD and be done with it, and log in with an Azure AD account and manage all that stuff up there. That's what it's going to be great for. So I'm again, this Azure AD, there's just so much great stuff in there. And I wanted to give a shout out of congratulations. Lori took and passed the Azure infrastructure exam. I forget what his name is, 7533. I'm also studying for that because this is cool stuff, and there's just a lot of opportunity out there. So Lori passed it. I hope to do as well when I take it to here whenever I need to schedule it. I'm kind of afraid, but yeah. So this Azure AD stuff, it's got me kind of excited. But the reason I bring that up is because this afternoon, your friend and mine, Gabe All, at Gabe AUL, he's at Microsoft. He published that there was a new build of Windows 10 coming out today, and that is a build 10,158. So if you're in the fast ring, if you've got Windows 10 running anywhere, you're in the fast ring, run out there, hit Windows Update, and that will be coming out. A lot of great things in there. The current builds of Windows 10 will already domain join Azure AD. So you can go out, you can create an Azure AD trial, and now in Windows 10, you go in and all the same places that you add your machine to a Windows domain, there's now an option for adding to Azure domain. That's been in there for a couple of builds now, but 10,158 will have it. So again, we're less than a month. Well, I guess we're today is the 29th. We're exactly a month away from Windows 10 RTMing and going out. And so we're, it's final touches. Now, as we've kind of all figured, Windows 10 is going to be an iterative thing. It's going to come out July 29th, but then they're just going to keep adding things here and there and adding, and, just because it's all going to be fast updates and all that kind of stuff, that agile thing and that most viable product thing. So, but they're getting close. They're putting a lot of polish on this. And So I've got 158 trying to install on one of my machines upstairs. I haven't got it anywhere else, but they added a few things that made me super happy. The first thing was they added the option for a home button in Edge. Hallelujah. So Edge is Microsoft's new browser. It used to be called Project Spartan. New web browser. It doesn't have a home button. Oh my God, that drives me batty. And I would say that is the number one reason that I don't use Edge, is because I start clicking around, opening tabs and stuff like that, and then want to go back to my home tab, and I can't because there's no home button. But build 10,158 adds the option for the home button. It doesn't add it, but you got to go in and change it. So as soon as my box upstairs gets updated, then I'll have that. So that's pretty cool. I look forward to that. Another cool thing is the option now, or the ability to send email through Cortana. So Cortana has been added to Windows 10. It's been there for the last couple of builds. You can set it up. If you've got headphones or whatever, you can talk to it. And now with Cortana, they've added a bunch of visual stuff to it, but you can send email through Cortana. So you can be all like, hey, Cortana, send email to Todd. Subject, your podcast is my favorite. And you can do it all. You can dictate the entire email start to finish within Cortana. So that's pretty cool. I sure could have used that when I had my run-in with the old Xbox Connect a few years ago. And I could, the only part of my left hand I could type with was the tip of this finger right here. I could have used that. And I did play with the Windows 7 dictation stuff back then, and it wasn't bad. It was far better than I thought it was going to be, but it still wasn't. It didn't flow as well. It was not very productive for me, but Cortana's getting there. Another thing they've done is the Insider Hub. So the place you go look at bugs and complain about stuff and tell them how great things are, that doesn't get installed automatically anymore. So if you want to put that in there and be part of the conversation, and I encourage you to do that, you need to go in and add it. It's a Windows feature. So you add it the same way you would add any other feature settings. And I think we're getting close to Windows 10 being where I may bless one of my beloved tablets with Windows 10. So my favoriteest tablet, there are many, but my favoriteest of all is my Dell Venue 8 Pro right here. This little guy stuck with me through thick and thin. We've been all over the world together, me and him. And I think he might get Windows 10 here once we can get the ISO for 10,158. I might just do it. I might put it on here, the tablet stuff. And So I logged into this to show you guys. And what is it? It's an Azure exam study guide, because I'm hardcore like that. But we're getting close to where I'm probably going to put Windows 10 on this tablet stuff. The tablet experience, I did it with an earlier tablet, and it did not. The tablet experience wasn't very good. So we're getting close to it. So I'll have to pick which my favorite tablet is. And we'll talk about the tablet thing here in a minute. I've got an update on that. So one of the new things that they added in Windows 10 to this latest build, and it's kind of with something else, is they added Cortana integration with Office 365. So now, if you're on your phone and you've got Cortana can tell you about upcoming meetings and things like that and all that. If you've got Windows 10 build 10.158, and if your Office 365 tenant is doing the fast ring, or they call it first release there, so you go into service settings, updates, first release. If you got both of those things going, then Cortana can hook up to Office 365. So then it can do cool things like when you've got a meeting with somebody, Cortana will pop up your meeting and it will show you the person and pull information about them out of Office 365. It'll also do the delve thing and say, here's the documents they've been working on. Here's the stuff they've been doing. It all just kind of ties it all together. So very cool stuff. I like what they're doing with Cortana. I like where this whole thing's going. There are a bunch of plays for this. It's kind of like, Edison gets credit for inventing the light bulb, and Edison gets, Marconi gets credit for inventing radio. But in reality, there are a bunch of folks working towards the same goals at the same time. And depending on which stories you read, we think of Edison because he was marketing and he was a meaner, tougher guy than Tesla and things like that. But there are a bunch of people going towards these digital assistant things and speaking to your computers. And at first, I kind of thought it was dumb and kind of annoying. And I had Cortana, on my Windows phone and my car. I've got a 2012 Ford Explorer. I can talk to it, and that works pretty well, though I mainly just use it for music. But the thing that really put me over the edge, that made me think this stuff made sense, was the Amazon Echo. And I got an Amazon Echo here a couple of months ago. I signed up for it in like January and then got it in April or something. And it's a cylinder, and I'll put a link in the show notes to it because they're generally available now too. It is a Bluetooth speaker. It stays plugged in all the time, but it also has a mic on all the time. And the Amazon Echo, the way that thing works, is finally what made all this stuff click. So much like I can with my car, the Echo's wake word is Alexa. That's the company that they bought that did all this. So I can say, Alexa, play Metallica, and it will go into my Amazon MP3s and play Metallica. It can also do Pandora. It can do iHeartRadio. It can do some other things. So it can play music from a bunch of different places, but it can also do other stuff. So I can come downstairs in the morning while the family's making breakfast, and I can say, Alexa, what's the forecast today? And she'll say, well, you better take an umbrella. You know, it's going to be blah, 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 blah. And it's online all the time. So it's going out, and you can do, one of the other things is like, Alexa, how many tablespoons in a gallon or whatever is we're cooking or whatever. And she does all that, and it's on all the time. You just have to talk to it. That thing sitting in the kitchen and doing all the things it does, the whole digital assistant thing finally clicked for me with that. But we've got Cortana doing it on computers and on the phone. We're getting there. And I think we finally, the technology and all that, everybody's working at it. Amazon's working at it. Apple's working at it. Microsoft's working at it. I think we're getting to that spot where this stuff's going to be used. I use the Echo all the time. The Echo was one of the things that suffered from the computer failing over there because it was one of the DNS servers. For whatever reason, that was the one that Echo was using. So when that server went down, Echo couldn't get to the internet. It was pretty rough. And so I'm like, I gotta get this fixed because the Echo's not working anymore. But even my kids, so my 5-year-old daughter, she's got a bunch of favorite songs. And so sometimes she'll just be walking through the kitchen and she'll be like, Alexa, play Uptown Funk. Next thing you know, I'm living in a damn musical. Everybody's singing and dancing. So everything, it's all getting there. And having Cortana in Windows 10 is pretty cool. Now at Ignite, it's funny. At Ignite, the publicly available build of Windows 10 did not have Cortana, but there were a few folks in the audience that did have pre-release builds for whatever, Microsoft employees, people on taps, whatever. And Joe Belfiore was on stage and he was showing some of the stuff. And he's like, hey, Cortana, blah, blah, blah. And I heard like 4 little people in the audience because it's on all the time, and it heard his voice over the thing. So there's going to be some rough edges to iron out, but it's all pretty cool technology. I'm a big fan. So getting Cortana and Office 365 talking together, that's good stuff. So speaking of Windows 10 and tablets and all that, I've talked on the show a bunch of times about my little buddy here, Wormy. Wormy is a PC on a stick. It's got an HDMI port, but it's got using the system on a chip technology that a bunch of these tablets that I've got use. This is running Windows 10. It came with Windows 8.1, but running Windows 10, full Windows, not RT. It's 32-bit Windows. Got some USB ports. Obviously got HDMI. It's got Wi-Fi built in. It's got Bluetooth built in. It's got a micro SD slot on it for loading it up with media, those kind of things. Great little device, and I'm a big fan of it, and I take it when I travel all the time. Because I've got, media and stuff on it. And so I just hook it up to the TV in the hotel room, HDMI right in. I've got a wireless keyboard and remote for it. So I use this little thing here. And so it's got a gyroscopic mouse and it's got a keyboard and all that. Use this all the time. This particular model has the Intel 3735 or 3537, I forget, processor, 2 gig of RAM, not a lot of horsepower, but it works, and it's on the edge of being able to do high def video, things like that. It skips a little bit, but it's not bad. So, but one of the problems that it has is it's got one full-size USB port right here, and then one USB on the go port right here. And so to use it as a client-side thing, you need one of these USB on the go dongles. So you plug that into that like that. It's got micro USB, and then it's got a USB port on it. So that's kind of clumsy. So I got to keep one of these cables with me, and then it just looks dumb. I don't like that. So I was poking around on the internet, and I saw that the company that makes this is technically a Amigo pad, MEEGO pad, Mego pad. I noticed they had a next generation version of this, and same specs under the hood, all that kind of stuff, but it had 2 full-size USB ports. And that's important because my keyboard is not Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. It takes 1. So then if I just wanted to, drop a USB drive or something on it, I couldn't. I'd need that dumb cable. So I ordered another one of these. It was cheap. I forget how much it was. Let's I'll put a link to it in the chat room. So I got one of those coming. It literally is taking the slow boat from China, so it will be here in a couple of weeks, but it was $106 for that. Now I'm probably going to put Windows 10 on it. We'll see how that works. It came with Windows 8. This particular one came with Windows 8.1, but it was infected with a virus. So I quick, fast, and in a hurry deleted that. But so when the new one shows up, I'll see how 8.1, see if it gets rid of some of the stuttering, because obviously the folks at www.megopad.cn not real on the ball on giving me Windows 10 drivers. So I had to get some Windows 10 drivers from other boxes that had the same system on a chip, and it might not have all pulled together correctly. So we'll see how the new one responds. Now, for me, I use this thing all the time. Every time I travel, this is in my backpack. The thing that kills me most on this is that the way you turn it on is with this button right here. So while I can plug it into the back of a TV, and I've got a couple of short little HDMI cables, so it goes back there, it uses USB power, I can completely get it out of the way, but I still need to reach in and hit the button to turn the thing on. So they got to find a way to be able to turn this thing on from the remote or something, because I have to go through a fish and hit that switch. It's kind of a pain in the backside. So that's been good. So that'll show up here in a couple of weeks. I don't know when that'll be. And I'll probably do an unboxing video for that one. I did an unboxing video for this one, but during that video is when I realized the dumb thing was infected. So I did not, I didn't publish it. So maybe the new one will not be infected and I'll be able to publish that one. I look forward to that. All right, we're down to our last topic here. So we got Windows 10 coming out. We got Windows 10 coming out for the phone. We got Windows 10 going to be generally available in a month. About those of us that are still rocking Surface RTs, Surface 2s, all that. Well, the bad news is they're not going to get Windows 10. So Microsoft said that for a while. There will be no Windows 10 for RT. But what they have said, and they reiterated this week, was that there will be a patch for Windows RT 8.1 that will bring some Windows 10 functionality to it. The obvious question then becomes, that's awesome. Which functionality will that be? They have not said. So we don't know about that, but that will happen shortly after July 29th. So my Surface RT over there that I used to play MP3s, it will get updated at some point. So Jared Shockley, he's in the chat room. He has a similar sickness for buying tablets that I do, and he's mentioning that he needs Windows 10 drivers for his Insignia Flex 8. I have an Insignia Flex 8, but I think, yeah, this is it, isn't it? So Insignia Flex 8, I love this tablet. I love this tablet for a couple of reasons. It has a HDMI port on it. It's micro, but that's okay. I got a bunch of micro dealios. 8-inch screen. Good quality, all that kind of stuff. The bad news, I had it in my bag once. The screen broke. Oh, big crack. Digitizer unhappy. So my Insignia Flex 8 is not so good. But it uses the same system on a chip. It's the same Intel Z3735F processor. So what I did, Jared, when I found the Windows 10 drivers for this little devil, like you, I have one of those Toshiba Encore Minis, and I grabbed the drivers for that, and that seemed to work. So you're saying the only driver not found is the Windows button. Oh, and so the Windows button, you bring up a good point. So on Windows 8, you got the Charms bar, the much hated Charms bar. off to the side. I myself, I kind of like the Charms bar. So the Charms bar is this little devil here where you pull it off to the side. The thing I like about this Charms bar is there's a Windows button there. So when I'm holding my tablet like this with both hands, if I need to hit the Windows key, I can just slide in with my right thumb and hit the Windows button, because these little tablets have the Windows keys all over. So this one has it here. The insignia, well, it's got it there on the side. The Toshiba, I think, doesn't have it at all. So I always just got used to doing that whole right thing with the thumb. Windows 10 does not have a Charms bar. So I got to get that tablet mode on one of these and see where the Windows button shows up on that. So I'm kind of sad about that. But so if you've got an RT device, you don't get Windows 10, you get something else, but we don't know what it is yet. But once we do, I've got a couple of Surface RTs sitting around, so I'll get it on there. So been a big week. I don't know if there's any SharePoint news much in here, so I apologize for that. But there's just a bunch of other things going on right now, and so I wanted to talk about them. So now we will go on to, speaking of me talking about things, shameless self-promotion. This hasn't changed much since the last couple of weeks. August 11th, so 6 weeks or so from now, I'll be speaking remotely for the Mississippi PowerShell user group, and you can find out about that at mspsug.com. And talk to those guys, find out there's a bunch of things going on with PowerShell now, and new version coming out with Windows and all that. But that will be Tuesday, August 11th at 8:30 p.m. Central. So same time slot as this, but on Monday. But on Tuesday. And again, I haven't decided what I'm going to talk about with those guys yet. Need to figure that out. And then a couple weeks after that is SP TechCon. That is August 24th through the 27th. And that is in Boston. So I'm doing a couple of talks there, and I forget what they are off the top of my head. I think Upgrade and maybe some PowerShell. Those sound like things I'd talk about. But that will be out there. And then, of course, I'll be doing all kinds of stuff out there. Rackspace will have a booth and all that. So if you, okay. So, when I was talking about that, so Beth in the chat room, she's in Minnesota. She's like, yeah, you're coming in a minute. Oh, Mississippi. Sorry about that. I would come up to Minnesota though, Beth. Have those guys. I don't know who's running that user group these days. If it's still Wes and Raymond and all those guys, or have them get a hold of me. I'll drive up. It's like 3 hours. Lori's saying that PowerShell for Office 365 is one of the sessions I'm doing at SP TechCon. That sounds right. And then probably Upgrade, I think, is the other one. August 24th through the 27th. Go to sptechcon.com. Sign up for that. And again, there's going to be a bunch of things there. I'll probably do the podcast from there. There's going to be a bunch of people there. I'll probably try to bring in a guest. I've got a couple ideas for people, but I need to email them. But if you're at SP TechCon and you're wandering around and you see me and you're like, that's that guy that hates Windows Phone 10. Come on over, introduce yourself, shake my hand. I'd love to chat with you. I love talking to people who listen to the podcast and finding out what they like and what they don't like, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very approachable. I'm very friendly, especially if you've got like donuts. I like donuts, things like that. So now in the chat room, they're like, hey, SharePoint Saturday Twin Cities is in October. So the problem with October is my anniversary is in October and one of my kids' birthdays is in October. So October's a rough month, but I will talk to you guys about that. I've never done a SharePoint Saturday in the Twin Cities, but I've spoken to the user group a couple times, but I will do that. They're my peeps are right up the road, just right up there, right up 35. So that's SP TechCon, August 24th. And then finally, September 18th. And 19th, SharePoint-alooza, beautiful Branson, Missouri. You know you want to go to Branson, go see some shows, catch that Yakov Smirnoff and Ray Stevens and all those guys. I actually went to Branson when I was a little kid, probably 10 or 12, saw Ray Stevens, had a blast. So go to Branson, go for the shows. There's going to be some great SharePoint stuff there at SharePoint-alooza. You can go to SharePoint-alooza.org for that one. I haven't decided for sure on which topics I'm going to talk about, but that Jason Himmelstein and I, we've been chatting about that too. So that is all for tonight. Glad to be back. I missed you guys a little bit. I didn't think about you guys much last week, but I missed you guys a little bit. So again, I'll be back next week, regular time, 8:30 p.m. Haven't changed the time yet, but I will have Kirk Evans with me, and we will be talking all about identity. So thanks, everybody, and I will see you next week.